The Miami-Dade Fire Department hosted U.S. Army Reserve soldiers from Orlando's 329th CBRN Company for a two-day integrated training event February 17th and 18th. The two-day event allowed firefighters, hazardous materials, and technical rescue technicians to train side by side with U.S. Army chemical biological warfare specialists in a real-world setting.
The purpose of this exercise today is to do collaboration with the Miami-Dade Fire Department and the 329th CBRN Company out of Orlando, also with the 469th Ground Ambulance Company out of Wichita, Kansas. This exercise will show both entities the capabilities that we bring to the fight in support of DISCA operations, which is Defense Civil Authorities, and help us better prepare for anything that might happen in the future.
The event began with classroom introductions, operations and safety information, and mission overviews, then quickly moved to hands-on demonstrations and training evolutions.
We're here in preparation for tomorrow's exercise, in which we're going to focus on techniques and procedures necessary to mitigate a hazardous materials incident in the maritime setting.
The 329th is a U.S. Army Reserve unit stationed in Orlando, Florida, that is tasked to provide support to civil authorities in the event of a chemical emergency.
We are a reserve unit working on a chemical mission for the Department of Homeland Security. While we're doing this mission, we have a lot of active duty time for training. We've been brought up on active duty right now to come down to Miami to train with the Fire Rescue Department so that we can integrate with them in the event of a large-scale hazmat event. So if we have a big scenario where the local responders have become overrun by the events, we bring in extra manpower and extra equipment to supplement what they're doing and to augment their response to the mitigation.
This is the second of a series of large-scale CBRN training events hosted by a major metropolitan city that is organized and led by U.S. Army North and U.S. Northern Command.
Really what we're doing is giving an opportunity for Title 10 forces to learn how to interact and work with first responders on the ground in a real setting, so that if ever anything should happen, they would have some exposure to what they're going to experience ahead of time. I think an important thing to note about the CBRN Response Enterprise, particularly the Title 10 side of it, and you've got the National Guard portion that's supplied by the states, is this is a key asset the Department of Defense has to respond to a major incident, for instance, a catastrophic incident in a major city, but we would only be able to support that if we're asked to, and it's something that we're always very clear to make sure people understand, is that the Department of Defense domestically is not going to show up unless we are needed and we're asked to be.
Hosting an exercise in a major city provides first responders and their military counterparts a unique opportunity to build relationships while testing the military's tactics, techniques, and procedures alongside the civilian department's standards of practice.
ATEC is the current provider of exercise support for the Army on the Homeland Response Force mission, and that's how we developed this exercise between Miami-Dade and the Army. We put this together to test and allow the Army to evaluate its effectiveness, as well as Miami-Dade integrating two agencies together to respond to some type of incident that might occur, such as this in the port. We initially started a joint exercise with the City of New York Fire Department, utilizing Madison Square Garden Penn Station with an Amtrak train underground, having some type of device that was utilized there, where we had victims that had to be brought out up to the street level, decontaminated. So it's testing the Army's capability on that mission, jointly operating with a urban city fire department like New York City. And the success of that incident showed that we could do this, and it provided a great, realistic environment for the Army to test its effectiveness working with local responders. That led to this other exercise now in Miami-Dade at the Port of Miami with a marine-type capability and air rescue capability. One of the challenges trying to do an exercise like this is we're doing it in an actual, real environment in the city, specifically in the port that is open for business 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So a lot of it is relationships to be able to convince the stakeholders the need to do the exercise and allowing us to do the exercise with minimal interruption to their business and commerce. And we do that through a lot of partnerships and a lot of relationships.
A highlight of the event was the fire department's use of their airborne rescue capability to quickly place hazmat technicians directly into the affected area, minimizing the danger to the responders. Always evolving, the Miami-Dade Fire Department is pioneering the use of small drones, normally reserved for hobbyists, to provide real-time imagery, chemical detection, and even aid in residential and wildland firefighting.
Well, drones are very good for emergency response because they're small, low profile. They provide great technological advantage in terms of heat signatures, infrared. We would use it, haz-mat like we're using right here. It's perfect. We're catching live, real-time imagery, and we're beaming it right back to the command post.
The exercise scenario allowed Miami-Dade's first responders to work through the emergency using the same steps they use every day, then request additional support from the 329th.
Police department will notify the fire department of a situation. Once that happens, the fire department will go in with their teams. Once it's been identified that more support is needed, the reach back of the 329th CBRN Company reconnaissance platoon will be called in. At that point in time, they will go in and assist with identification of 4 containers, and within that piece take samples or mitigate whatever the threat might be, and then move out and come back in to open back up the port.
The 2-day event was evaluated by U.S. Northern Command to ensure that all training objectives were met and any lessons learned or best practices were captured for use by other agencies.
I think without a doubt, it's always beneficial to all stakeholders in the game. All of our partners, everyone that we collaborate as first responders, are all for a common unified effort and a common response. So if we're working together, look at their standards of practice with our standards of practice, we come up with a best practice of how to keep everyone in this nation safe.